If Optimus Prime humped a Gundam wing in Jurassic Park, you would born a Zoid.
We're entering our flop era.
Shit's bleak out here. All right.
18 plus. Who wants to get milked?
It's kind of quality we have here. Debate this.
I need the edge. I need what the raw, unfiltered internet can bring you.
This is probably only going to be the third or fourth dumbest thing I've said today.
That's for nobody.
Just out there raw dogging the internet.
Way more hog than I expected.
It's about as much hog as I anticipated.
This is going to be one of those episodes, isn't it?
Here comes the cow. Here comes the cow.
All right, let's get this over with so we can play Magic.
Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how sometimes nostalgia makes us remember things as better than they were. But sometimes nostalgia is right, and things were awesome, and that's the best.
Like the swan song of our generation.
Yeah, it really is. Boy, tell me you're a millennial without telling me you're a millennial, I suppose.
Yep. Ooh.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, the subject of today's flavor text was commissioned by our best friend and yours at Flum in our Discord. If you're excited about this topic and want to thank him, you can mail him all your Lord of the Rings / Magic the Gathering full art lands. He will really appreciate it.
You will.
If you have an idea for the topic of our next flavor text, head over to patreon.com/debatethiscast to commission it now. For the low price of 3 Overwatch Battle Passes, we'll record a podcast about whatever property your weird little heart desires. It could be
Matt,
another childhood.
Can you just say that in American dollars for those of us who don't know the conversion rate?
Yeah, it's 60 American dollars.
Okay, great.
It's 3 Overwatch Battle Passes and 6 Magic the Gathering Arena Overwatch or Battle Passes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
let me
Does
put
that
it
help?
in just different nerd language. Anyway, it could be another childhood cartoon favorite made to sell toys like Beyblade or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or my actual white whale, Code Lyoko. Get all the details at patreon.com/debatethiscast.
Code Lyoko is like, tell me you have ADHD without telling me you have ADHD.
Right.
But today we are here to talk about a different late 90s, early 2000s anime made to sell toys, and that show is Zoids. At least I thought we were here today to talk about the show because before I jumped into this, remembered, I loved Zoids. I watched Zoids. It was a show on Toonami made to sell toys. I bet there's like 20 episodes and probably not a lot of lore to it. And boy, howdy, was I wrong.
You sweet summer
You
child.
only knew of the iceberg.
I only knew of the iceberg. And today we are going to put on scuba masks and look at the bottom of the iceberg without actually climbing to the bottom of it because, my God, there's so much, and so much of it has never been officially printed or released in English. So it made it pretty difficult to compile everything. But I am really excited to talk today about not only Zoids, the property, but the toys, the story of the toys, the creation of the toys, as well as the main anime that released here in the States, and just some other random stuff along the way. But before I jump in, let me introduce my transporters to take me across the wasteland today. Andrew Attack Kong Henderson, Todd Gravity Bison Thomas, and Kyle Stegosage Psyche Harper.
You can't tell me that these aren't either Mega Man bosses
They're 100% Mega Man bosses, yeah.
or
Metal Gear bosses.
that's the other one.
Yeah, both of those things are true.
Stegosage Psyche is 100% in Metal Gear 6 whenever it comes out.
Yes, Solid Snake, you have pinned me down today, but you are not ready for the wrath of Attack Kong. And it's just an airplane. Just a big airplane.
So these, I'm sure it won't surprise you, are all Zoids. There are so many Zoids, and honestly, there's no reason to know most of them. Because the important ones show up in the anime, but there's a toy line, so there's way more. And these are 3 that don't even like they're broken links on Wikipedia. You know, like they're on the list, but there's no information about them. I just thought the names were cool. So before we jump in today on everything I've learned about Zoids, I would love to know what you guys know about Zoids. So whoever would like to start, what do you got?
Nothing.
I think my knowledge of Zoids can best be summed up by the conversation Matt and I think had a week ago, where I said, Zoids, it's like we have Voltron at home, right? And Matt said, it's more like Timu Gundam. And I still think it's probably all of the above. It's Timu Gundam and we have Voltron at home.
Timu Gundam is also a Metal Gear Solid boss.
Fair point. Yeah.
When this request came out, I was like, what the fuck is Zoids? And Matt's response was Zoids, and that was triggering for me because it was like I don't remember this in my
an anime. Andrew doesn't know.
I excised this from my brain, and then Matt posted the opening like 20 minutes ago in our group chat, and I was like, okay, I do remember seeing this on specifically that like late 90s era of early 3D rendered computer animation.
Yeah.
Love the 2D 3D mashup era.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. See also Your Beast's Wars.
Yeah.
And what was the Canadian one? The Canadian robot one?
That doesn't narrow it down. Reboot.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, we need to.
I just saw on TikTok that somebody is doing like a whole restoration project to get Reboot back online, which is
God.
kind of neat.
I would take a
big Reboot fam. Get at us. Get at us in the comments.
Reboot fans in the
Nation.
chat,
Give
rise
me a
up.
live action Paramount Plus reboot. I would take it.
Yeah.
Zoids, nothing. I know nothing. Similar to the things Andrew said, but I know nothing.
So I think the reason that you guys don't know much about Zoids is because this pretty accurately nails the age gap between the four of us, right? The original Zoids anime aired in Japan in 1999, and the first one hit the States in 2000. And so it was certainly right at that time where like y'all were probably coming out of kids' cartoons and I was charging headlong into kids' cartoons, because Zoids, despite how many guns and how much death there is in this show, is like geared at kind of a weirdly low age. And I remember it being kind of the one show on Toonami that I really got into because the themes, despite the guns and the death, were a little bit less adult focused, and the main characters were younger, so it felt like watching people closer to my age.
I mean, that is consistent with a lot of the anime that was on Toonami at the time, right? Like, I think a good parallel is Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which is famously like a lot more lewd in its original Japanese version, but it was like geared toward kids. The original.
It's all in this wake of Pokemon, the Pokemon anime blowing up, and I'm sure the localization helped to scoot the age down a bit as well. I'm sure in the original Japanese it might have actually been a little more teen and tween centered than kid centered or something.
I mean, this is the height of 4Kids animation. Before
100%.
Funimation was like the industry standard, so that totally tracks.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about how the show came to be. The story of Zoids actually starts about 10 years before the anime is even concepted. But we will get to that starting here in the year 1982. E.T. the Extraterrestrial was the highest grossing movie. Michael Jackson's Thriller had just debuted, and Disney World opened the largest theme park to ever be centered around a giant golf ball statue. The toy company Tomy released a series of toys in Japan called Mechabonica. And this is where I'll throw in a quick note. if you're listening to this podcast, there is an Imgur note or an Imgur link to follow along with pictures of the podcast in the show notes. Unfortunately, here, day of recording, I have not gotten it put together yet. So the guys are freeballing it on Google Images, but there will be an Imgur link that you can investigate yourself.
Can we get a visual or a verbal cue when you recommend that we search for something?
Yeah, right now I would do that. Go Google Tomy Mechabonica, and you will see what is considered by most collectors to be like the proto Zoids or the first Zoids toys. Tomy had been releasing toys in Japan and nationally since 1924, and they had big hits in the 70s and early 80s with Microman, Water Game, and Koro-Q, known better as penny racers in the States. Penny racers, yeah, those little tabletop cars that you pulled back and they zipped forward. Yeah. Water Game, I didn't know it was just called Water Game, but that's the tube with water and it's got rings in it and you got to push the button to float the rings up. Tomy made that. Yeah.
Water Game.
Water Game. Different than Watergate, but only by one letter. In 1982, Tomy released Mechabonica, a line of vaguely animal-shaped robot toys. The sales were underwhelming, and they pulled those toys off shelves pretty quickly. But these original toys were Plamo kits, or plastic model kits, that you would put together yourself. After the line had been pulled in Japan, they were rebranded and recolored, and then re-released in the US under the new name Zoids.
What a perfectly Americanized, localized nothing word.
Absolutely. Right. Yes. Going back to the Power Rangers flavor text where Power Rangers invented the word Zord and morph. Like, this is that same era of ratitude.
I do want to call out the image that I found is of a particular character called Shield Liger, which I find very, very fun.
You have found, you effectively Googled, show me a basketball player, and picked on a picture of Michael Jordan. We're going to talk about Shield Liger a lot today.
Great.
Yeah. So, like I said, they were released in the US under the name Zoids, and the US toy line did much better than the original Mechabonica release. So Tomy re-released the Zoids brand in Japan, where they gained massive popularity. And it's
did they change anything, or did they literally just change the name?
They changed mostly the name and the branding, but they also dropped a handful of way less popular designs. There were 3 of the original Mechabonica designs that became popular Zoids that have continued forever. And so when they re-released Mechabonica as Zoids, they focused on just those 3 and changed, colorways and general branding and things like that. I couldn't find anything if there were specific changes to pieces and parts, if they were easier to put together. I mean, the quality certainly improves, but that was the biggest change. It's also worth noting that by this point, Bandai had been releasing Gundam kits for 2 years and were printing money with it. The Zoids toy line took a great deal of inspiration from the Gundam kits, and they were more complex than those original Mechabonica.
Wait, so what you just said, the Zoids were more complex than Gundam kits?
Than Mechabonica kits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zoids were closer to Gundam than...
I was gonna say.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, it was basically they made Mechabonica not knowing if people would be into Plamo kits. And then Gundam proved that not only would people be into Plamo kits, they'd be really into Plamo kits. Yeah. So you could do more with them.
If looking at the Mechabonica page, if the scale is like Gundam on the high end and connects kits from, if anyone remembers, Connects on the lower end. They slid that fader closer to the Gundam side of it, basically.
Yeah, that's a really good way to sum it up. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say much else about the toys because honestly, it's not my area of expertise, and anything else that I try to like explain will not do justice to the community of people who are into Zoids. But I need to reiterate that these toys are integral to the Zoids as a franchise in a way that I think no other like American super popular brand is outside of Transformers. Like Gundam is similar, where you don't really have the IP without the toys. In the US, I think that's really only Transformers from this era, and I would put Zoids right there beside it. Incredibly important, have been created and released all over the world for 40 years. There was about a 10-year gap from 1990 to 1999 where Tomy wasn't making the toys, but they were branding right deals all over the world. They were still being produced in different lines. There's like 30 toy lines. I'm not going to break it all down. I wish that I had the mental capacity to, but I wanted to say that here. A couple of last notes about toys. There's still a huge culture around these toys. The collector scene is alive and well. The latest Zoid line was released last month at time of recording, so that would be February of 25.
Wow.
And that series focuses on 1 to 100 scale model kits, averaging around 200 parts, with the idea of action posability combined with more affordable pricing at a smaller storage footprint. Last year, Tomy released a Spider-Man Zoid collab, which I have linked here and is rad.
Spider Zoid.
Yeah, this first picture is so cool, and then you scroll down and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's immediately less cool.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks hard.
Yeah, no, it looks actually super lame in real IRL, but the promo picture is dope as hell.
Promo pictures, very dope.
It's really sick. I didn't know about this until I went to Tomy's website, and I will say that like Tomy's Zoids website is pretty cool. It really focuses on the toys, as Tomy is a toy company. And again, out of my area of expertise, but certainly a website that somebody who isn't me could click around on for hours and hours. This year's line of Zoids also includes these like Zoid anime girl models of characters or based on characters from the original anime to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the anime.
They all have functional boob windows, which is fun.
That's a decision.
Sure is. Last but not least, I think the most important thing about the toy line is that there wouldn't be a Zoids plot without them. And not just in a they made a TV show to sell toys kind of way, but in a the TV show is based on the plot established by the toy line. So let's talk about
it's like how Coheed and Cambria albums are based on the comic that's created by the singer.
I can't tell you that that's wrong because it isn't, but I do.
You don't like it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. 1,000%. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about is something called the Zoids battle story. And before we do that, I want to have just a quick discussion here. And I have a question for you guys, which is, why does flavor text exist? Not our podcast, but like the actual concept of flavor text. Why do you guys think that
Magic
is?
cards.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where it started, but like, why would they put it there? Why do?
Because Magic had a story or wanted to convey more than just card mechanics on the card. And that was a way to do that beyond the art and aesthetics of the card.
That I would say something like that, but less eloquent.
I like that. Another thing that I heard/researched as I was, or heard/read as I was researching this, is that there was an element of how do we get people to play with these cards more, right?
Yeah.
Like if you are a lone kid and don't have anybody to play Magic with, you can still play with your Magic cards if you sit in the corner and read flavor text.
Yeah, there was an element of like, let's make even the most boring mechanical card have something interesting on it, for sure.
Exactly. Now, hold on to that concept, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So the term flavor text was coined in 1993 by Magic the Gathering production manager Dave Howell. But as a concept, it really got started with 1980s toys. G.I. Joe and Transformers were among the first to include things like character dossiers or Transformer spec sheets into the packaging of their toys to expand on the story. And also, very early on the front lines of flavor text was the original Zoids battle story. That battle story was printed on the boxes, manuals, and catalogs of some Zoid model kits. And that battle story was completely unique to Japan and some other international toy releases. It was never printed on English toys.
Well, American kids aren't going to read, Matt.
Oh.
It's true. Yeah. Well, they're too busy reading Magic cards. They can't read about our fun robot dinosaurs.
Not in the 80s.
That's fair. Yeah. Not at this point.
They were too busy
like
with hippie drugs.
Yeah, too busy with hippie drugs. I like that this is the slow, very, very long walk to 40 years later where Japan has Japanese exclusive musicals based on the series of Nier.
Yeah.
and you can go and see an entire dramatic readings in the extended universe of the Nier franchise.
Yeah. It is a little domino, big domino thing for sure. Exactly. I won't take that away from you. The Zoids brand has utilized this battle story concept on and off for its entire 25-year history that should say 45-year history, with some parts of the story intertwining and others standing alone. The reason that I brought up that question of like, why does flavor text exist is because here we are trying to sell 200-piece model kits to kids, and there's got to be a little bit something more there because, you know what, sometimes putting model kits together is really frustrating. And if you're really frustrated building the model, you can pick up the box and read about a cool war that's going on. Or you can look at the specs of different Zoids and determine who might win in a fight. And this battle story serves, just like flavor text on MTG cards, to tell a larger story than they can tell with model kits, but also is like product additive, right? You know, it's like a side of fries with your model kit.
Yeah. Matt, do you know did Gundam not have this problem because it was like a manga or something first, and Zoids just wasn't? They spun a Zoids toy out of the nethers, if you will.
Yes, that is the biggest thing. At least from what I've learned, is that the Gundam toys launched within a year or 2 years of the original run of the Gundam anime, which I learned was not very popular until the toys came out. So the original anime buffed out most of the story already. There wasn't a huge need for more stuff. But Zoids didn't have an anime, didn't have a manga at this point either. It was just toys and boxes. So that's what a battle story is. And we're going to talk through that battle story. But before we do, I have another question we need to answer. And that question is, what the fuck is a Zoid? What's a Zoid? Who knows what a Zoid is?
It's a Zord, but different.
It was that late 90s cartoon about the Freakazoid.
Absolutely. You're so right.
The Freakazoid, yeah.
All of those things are true. Okay. A Zoid is a biomechanical...
Different than a zine.
Different than a zine.
Which is meant to radicalize teens in the 90s.
A biomechanical native species of animals on Planet Z. We're going to talk about Planet Z, but
is my response to that.
Now you know. Zoids are in theory, like living things that are naturally born of the planet Z. Now later,
so Space Liger
Was born
and dies.
yep, mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Did it die for our sins? Is Space
that's-
Liger also
I was
Zoid Jesus?
Trying to get
That's,
there.
that's Space Aslan. Thank you very much. Later, we're going to talk about organoids, which are different. And I know that the word organoid makes it sound like, well, those are the ones that are born. No, all Zoids are born. Organoids seemingly are just like a little bit more sentient. And I'm not going to like tell you all the ways that we get there, but long story short, there were like naturally born Zoids. And then we did that, we being the people of this story, did a whole bunch of like evolutionary science to make Zoids bigger and better at war, and let us get inside and ride them. But Zoids are biomechanical organic beings and are, quotes, alive. And that is important.
Are they Avas, Matt?
They aren't not. They are distinctly aren't not Avas.
Okay.
We made it 27 minutes before that question was asked.
They're just not made of dead moms.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, Matt, organoids are what naturally evolved on planet Z.
Organoids are poodles, and Zoids are golden doodles.
But golden doodles we specifically bred to be cars.
That's literally what. Well, that's literally what Matt said. We bred the Zoids from the Noids, which we avoided.
Replace cars with tanks, and you're right. We bred them to be tanks. Yeah.
What's a tank if not a car, but stronger?
I'm saying. Okay.
Put it on a sticker.
Now you all know what the fuck a Zoid is. Does anybody have any questions about what a Zoid is?
Matt, many, but I'm hoping that you answer them.
All right.
Matt, how do I selectively breed for car?
Okay. Let's jump into the lore. Let's talk through the original battle story. Now, again, battle story. Boxes, inserts, manuals, not a cohesive thing, never printed in English. So, a lot of piecemeal stuff here. There were some intertwining mangas, but they were like mini mangas because there were actual manga, I don't know. There are actual mangas that aren't part of the battle story. And then there are like Tomy released mangas that are part of the battle story. It's a fucking nightmare. So allow me to piece some shit together for you. Here we go. Ready, set, go. As stated above, the complete battle story was never published in English. I'm missing some stuff. Here's the rough overview. Much like all sci-fi media of the early 80s, Zoids began with a war between the Empire and the Republic.
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
Specifically,
excellent.
The Helic Republic and the Xenobus Empire.
Star Wars can enforce copyright if we put modifying nouns in front of those words, can they?
There's nothing much more that will immediately get me into a story and a background than the evil empire. I'm sorry. Man. It's always going to check that box for me.
It's right? Such low-hanging fruit, but like you're just in.
Yeah. So all the shenanigans that we're about to talk about happen on Planet Z, a legally distinct Earth on the other side of the galaxy.
Great.
In 1985, a book, like real world 1985, a book.
Not Zoids 1985.
No, we're going to talk in Zoids time here in a minute, but we're not there yet. In real world 1985, a book called History of Zoids gave some background on Planet Z, establishing it as a planet destroyed by conflict and natural disasters. Dig.
I see what we're doing. I get it.
Okay.
All right. King Helic unites the original tribes of Planet Z's central continent. This was in ZAC 1955. Do not ask me what ZAC stands for. I do not know. I do not remember.
This was all the way in 1955?
1955. Yeah. All right. King Helic had two sons, Helic II and Zenobus Meroa.
I see where we're going.
Uh-oh.
These sons were born of two different wives, with Zenobus's mother being somebody named Gylios's sister. Just put a pin in it. It'll be important later.
Matt, quick, how much of this battle story is just the Old Testament, but we added mechs?
Yeah, it's kind of feeling that way.
So in ZAC 1978,
Whoa, a time skip to 1978.
23 years later, King Helic dies, and Helic II becomes the leader of the Helic Republic.
I mean, for
Wait,
a second
isn't he a king?
here. Yeah, well, yeah, now he's king. Now he's
Yeah.
king.
So he both inherited the monarchy
It's-
and then
yeah.
dissolved the
like-
monarchy and turned it into a republic.
It's like how
big.
Amidala went from senator to or from queen to senator. It's the same
Okay.
Yeah.
same thing.
King Helic is dead. Long live King Helic. We get it.
I see what you're asking, Andrew. When King Helic united the two tribes, it was called the Helic Republic. So it is a republic with the emperor
As him
king.
being the sole emperor. Yeah, got it.
They kept calling him king out of respect for how good of a
His first name is King.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. So King Helic dies. Helic II becomes the leader of the Helic Republic. Now, the first king had given his sons orders to work together and cover for each other's weaknesses. But Zenobus didn't like how slow and peaceful Helic II and the Republic was being. So
he hit him with a rock.
he did not hit him with a rock.
He turned him into a frog.
Was banished and went off to create what would become known as the Zenobus Empire. Okay.
I feel like I didn't get any representation on my Thor and Loki reference.
No, it
and
was there.
I feel bad.
It was great.
No, I'm hurt.
I was immediately caught here how everyone names everything after their first names. That's some wild shit.
Well, Todd, we have about 120 characters to tell this entire story on the back of a box that two kids are gonna read before the year 2001.
Only children shout out. What's up?
Fair. I'm just thinking how if my dinky homestead were to secede, calling it like the Todd
Todd's
Empire,
Republic.
the Todd Republic,
The Toddlands.
I paint it on a poster board in front of our lawn, and everyone just hates me.
So you've got the Helic Republic led by Helic II, and you've got the Zenobus Empire led by Helic II's brother, Zenobus. And for the next 50 years, those two nations are just going to war. We got about 50 years of war to do.
Matt, is there ever a Zenobus II?
I can't answer that question yet. Okay, so after about 50 years of war,
Zifty years of war.
Zifty years of war, a ship from Earth called the Globally 3. That's the name of the
Earth
ship.
exists in this universe.
Earth exists. We are on the other side of the Milky Way. but Earth exists.
This is not a Planet of the Apes where we find out this is Earth at the end of the battle story.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Carter sent a ship to Planet Z.
Yes. Yeah. Called Globally 3. Now, Globally 3 crashed on Planet Z, basically right on the border of the Empire and the Republic. Where do you bury the survivors? Anyway, it landed right on the border of the Empire and the Republic, and Earth's technology, handwave, helped expand Zoid tech on both sides of the war. How Earth's technology helped expand the technology of organically born beings of this world is not a question I know the answer to.
I hate to have the answer for you, Matt. The very first child conceived through in vitro fertilization was in 1978. In vitro saved the Zoids. We have our answer.
Todd, I really need you to remember that for the next 40 minutes.
I felt like it was going to be important.
I forgot that we don't have images, and I had to go back and look up Xenobus, and I just need everyone to know that Xenobus, the leader of this empire, is just like a fun little dinosaur pterodactyl friend.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's so true. Okay. All right. So here's your next go to Google Images. The Republican, or excuse me, they call them the Republicans, but that feels weird. The people of the Republic built their new Zoid called the Ultrasaurus
Hell
to finally defeat the
Good.
Empire. But the Empire...
Man, Jurassic Park's going to have some real inspiration to pull from.
Dude, I'm telling you, Zoids is just like if Optimus Prime humped a Gundam wing in Jurassic Park, you would born a Zoid. That's
Jesus Christ, this is a Brachiosaurus made of scaffolding.
Matt's quote is the cold open. I'm calling it now.
so they built the Ultrasaurus to defeat the Empire, and the Empire fled to the dark continent called Nyx. And they came back with even more powerful Zoids. Oh no.
That is the new Jurassic Park storyline.
Yeah. A little Planet Z geography for you. The Empire and the Republic are both on the central continent. Look, I've probably seen a map of Planet Z. I don't know that it's consistent. What you need to know is there's a big old landmass in the middle called the central continent. And then there's the dark continent. It's to the west. And then there's a friendlier, nicer continent to the east. Because as with all things, this is mostly a west versus east allegory story that we are doing here today with organic mechs.
Oh, I pulled up a map of Planet Z on the wiki.
Yep.
I'll post it in the link in the notes.
It's legit because it's labeled in papyrus font.
It's very much it's not Earth.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at it. So anyway, you get it. East versus west. That's kind of what we're doing here. All right. The Republic continues to push the Empire, and the Empire turned back to the Dark Continent for help. Now, who was over there on the Dark Continent? None other than Gylos. You remember who Gylos is? No. Why would you? His sister is Xenobus's mom. Okay? So Gylos is Xenobus's uncle. And somewhere in the Empire, asking for help from the Dark Continent, Gylos betrays his nephew, and it's revealed that he is his uncle. Luke, I am your uncle. And then Gylos absorbs the Empire army into his new, quote, Dark Army. Okay.
Okay, functionally, what does that mean?
So, up until now, the story has been pretty morally gray and told from both sides. Like, the Empire isn't inherently bad people. The Republic isn't inherently bad people. They are at war, but the people aren't bad. That's not a problem with the Dark Army. The Dark Army are bad guys. And that's important because in IRL 1989, not ZAC 1989, IRL 1989, a new line of Zoids toys was released, and they made the storyline more good versus evil. So functionally, the Dark Army absorbing the Empire just makes the Empire officially bad guys.
Yeah, we've got our
And
not two brothers fighting each other, but
Yeah.
a legitimate force of evil.
And I
versus
feel
a force of
compelled
good.
to clarify once more that these are all genuinely dinosaur themed robots who are all fighting each other. Yep.
So there are a lot of these people. There are organic Zoids, and then there are also people called
Humans.
Zoidians. No, not humans. They're Zoidians. They're just
They're an
like
Earth.
humans, but they're from Z. So
Okay.
yeah, they're Zoidians. They're whatever. The dark continent is also where like dark science happens. And so when the army comes back from the dark continent, their Zoids are meaner and black and purple. And that's kind of it. Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, 1989, retooling the story, good versus evil. We've got our bad guy faction. We've got our good guy faction. Gylos and the Empire, officially the bad guy. We also shifted the storyline from telling both sides of the story to just telling the story through the perspective of a hero Republic soldier. It's supposed to be a self-insert. There's never really any like name given to this hero, just the lens.
So
Now,
if I may just kind of simplify, we went from like red versus blue, like pick your faction, to like no, we're just doing Autobots and Decepticons.
Yeah,
Yes.
to
Okay.
freedom versus communism, 1989. Yeah.
For sure.
yeah, and it's worth noting that like this is 1989. Transformers debuted in 84, right? So like they had been more successful from 85 to 89 than the Zoids franchise, and you know, everybody just copies everybody else. Okay. Wrapping up the original battle story. The Republic built their biggest, baddest Zoid ever. Here's your next thing to Google image search or look at the Imgur file for King Gojulus. And the conflict came to a head.
That is we have Godzilla at home.
Sure is.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And this is, again, like, this is the Republic. They are the Eastern, insert here. So this is supposed to be.
Even the name King Gojulus is like, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just change it so we don't get caught.
Yeah.
And there's sort of this air of like, the Republic acknowledges that King Gojulus is a nuclear option. Like, they're not happy to be building this death machine, but it's the only way. I have become death, destroyer of worlds. We see what we're doing here. Before the conflict could resolve.
King Gojulus is also alive and sentient, right? Because they're all like they both get built and then they're born.
You need to stop asking that question. Like, just don't even. Yeah.
When a mommy Zoid and a daddy Zoid love each other very much.
The
Copy that.
Zoids are both built by hand by human beings and also born naturally of the planet Z. And there is no line or distinction as to
just
how both those things are true.
Just like humans. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No one could ever know.
There's like a fun moment in the anime where they kind of double down on like, no, Zoids are actually organic beings. It's like episode 3 or 4 where one character's Zoid gets shot with a missile and it blows a hole in its leg. And then they take it to a girl who can repair Zoids. And instead of going back to the leg with the hole in it, she like opens a panel on the chest of the Zoid. And our main character who drives that Zoid is like, hey, girl, don't you need to go back to where the hole is and put new parts in the hole? And she's like, no, by changing some of the wiring in this Zoid's panel, I can help it heal itself. Period. No more explanation. That's just, biomechanical. It's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right. So the Empire, they've got the Dark Army. The Republic, they've got King Gojulus. Conflict comes to a head, and before that conflict could resolve, wouldn't you know it, Planet Z's third moon was struck by a comet and it explodes, and there's meteoric destruction rained down on Planet Z, and that's the end of the original battle story.
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. There are no winners, there are no losers. We blew up the Earth.
Board wipe.
Cold War ended in nuclear holocaust.
Yep.
New story, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 1990-ish in our world. Not ZAC, IRL. It's like 1990. There is about a 9-year gap where Tomy isn't producing Zoids toys. Like I talked about earlier, these designs had been licensed to different toy companies all over the world. And there were companies in Spain and in France and in Mexico who produced Zoids toy lines from 1990 to 1999, but they're not officially part of the Tomy Zoids and they don't fit into the battle story. But in 1999, the Zoids brand is revived by Tomy. And not only do they revive the toy line, they also launch the anime that got me and assumingly our best friend and yours at Flum in our Discord, who commissioned this episode, which you can do at patreon.com/debatethiscast for the low, low price of 3 Overwatch battle passes or 6 Magic the Gathering arena battle passes. They launched that anime in 1999 as well. So now we are into the new battle story. There was the original battle story. This is the new battle story. The new story picks up after, quote, decades of peace.
Good.
Who knows?
Great.
Peace after a comet.
Yeah.
Somehow
Armageddon.
Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. So, like, sort of the recurring theme of Zoids is there's been a war. Oops, there's massive destruction. Maybe we stop warring and recover from massive destruction. Hey, everything's pretty good right now. We should start a war. That's kind of just the like churn of Zoids. And also geopolitics in the world and right now. But that's not important. Anyway, Zoids, it's been decades of peace after the third moon exploded and rained hell down on the central continent. And then the emperor of the Gylos Empire dies. Who the shit is that? Honestly, not so sure. Is it the Xenobus dude we left a while ago? Unsure. Is it Xenobus II? Unsure. It's just the Gylos Empire.
Well, following their naming conventions, it's Gylos.
Yeah.
Gylos took over for Xenobos and changed the name.
The people listening can't see me pointing at the screen, but like that's it, right? And it's kind of pointlessly ambiguous because this is a relaunch of the brand 10 years later. But everybody who was a fan of the original story was like, well, it's Gylos, right? Anyway, he dies. And he left his young relative, Rudolph, as the only heir and the leader of the nation state. And Rudolph's like 10. So the new prince of the empire is Rudolph, the grandson of the previous emperor. Unfortunately, Rudolph was a literal child. So his regent, General Prosen in English, he has another title in Japanese. I don't remember what it is. Gunner, maybe. General Prosen used the military of the empire to restart the conflict between the empire and the republic. So Rudolph is the emperor, but his general takes military command, restarts the conflict. And to begin, both sides used their old Zoids from the previous war. Why? So Tomy could re-release those old designs. That's why.
Smart. Smart.
Now, technology advanced, and between the model kits and the anime, new Zoids, like these are worth looking up, the Rev Raptor and the Genosaurer were introduced to the story. Give y'all a moment to Google.
Rev Raptor is
That looks exactly what I assumed.
An incredible name.
You guys remember that B movie, Velocipaster? That just me?
I was trying to get to
Yeah.
that, Matt.
Yeah.
That's Rev Raptor is just
There-
Timu Velocipaster.
They're gonna run out of dinosaurs.
Rev
to put guns
Raptor
on.
also sounds like it would have gotten its own show in like the Ben 10 era on Cartoon Network.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are any of these Zoids not a dinosaur with a gun on it?
Yes, there are other animals with guns.
There are precisely 4 other Zoids that
One of them
aren't
is-
dinosaurs with a gun.
One of them is Shield Liger.
They do a couple of things to denote between Empire and Republic without just like printing Empire and Republic on the different Zoids. And one of those things is that the Dino Zoids are typically more aligned with the Empire, and the Republic uses more mammal based.
Okay, so they do the Beast Wars thing.
They do the Beast Wars thing.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So technology advances. This led to an arms race of bigger, stronger, and more destructive Zoids. And the Empire introduced, here's another one worth looking up, the Death Stinger in ZAC 2100. So we are now 145 years from the uniting of the two tribes. Now it's ZAC 2100, and we've got the Death Stinger.
Death Stinger is what that Spider-Man one wanted to look like.
Yeah, sure is.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing about the Death Stinger. That Zoid became rampant, and it caused significant loss on both sides because, again, these are organic, animals, that were born, and have their own level of sentience, So they put a pilot in the Death Stinger, but the Death Stinger kind of took a mind of its own and just started attacking everybody. Cool?
Okay.
I know that's loosey-goosey, but okay. So, Death Stinger causes a bunch of loss on both sides, and the Empire retreats back to the Dark Continent again, because that's where they go when they blast off. General Prozin reveals that he was actually Xenobus' son.
Oh, sure.
General Prozin is Xenobus
Oh.
the second. Yeah. Timey-wimey a little bit, but he is Xenobus the second. And that was the original Empire founder. Not only is Prozin the son of Xenobus, but the current ruler of the Republic, a person named Louise Elena, who serves no other purpose, was revealed to be Xenobus' daughter.
Scandal.
Ooh.
This entire war was a ruse to weaken both nations. And though Prozin died in a coup, it's revealed that his goal was to engineer this conflict to create the rise of a new nation, Neo-Xenobus.
Good.
Great.
And that's
Okay.
what happened. Neo-Xenobus was led by Prozin's son, which would be Xenobus III, I guess. And they drove the Republic forces back to the Eastern Continent, which is like the light version of the Dark Continent. Friendly reminder again, this is a West versus East allegory. And this new battle story ended in 2004 with the Republic claiming their capital and forcing the Neo-Xenobus Empire back to the western half of the Central Continent. And now the Empire and the Republic are on the Central Continent again. They're warring and just doing the Hatfield and McCoy thing. Cool? Makes sense?
Love it.
Yeah.
Sure.
There are 3 more major battle story arcs. I am much less familiar with them. Quick rundown. First one is called 3 Tigers. It's set in the future, like 1,000 years in the future. and focuses on two rival weapons corporations on planet Z, Zoitech and Z Arms.
And what is the third tiger?
I don't know. The next story arc is called Rebirth Century. It picks up right after the beginning, or excuse me, right after the ending of the original battle story and fills in those 50 years of the moon exploded and now we're in decades of peace. How did we get there?
Okay,
And then-
so Planet Z didn't blow up.
Planet Z was decimated. Planet Z's moon blew up, and there
Okay.
was a meteor shower of moon bits that caused
Got it.
significant damage to Planet Z, but the planet still exists.
Moon Bits sounds like a really good 80s breakfast cereal.
It do.
Sure.
The last major battle story arc that I'm much less familiar with is Onslaught. It's a 30th anniversary storyline, and the plot is largely the same as the original battle story. To be completely honest, I don't know if it's just like the original battle story remastered or if it is a new story that is basically the same plot as the old story. But it's 30th anniversary, so I'm assuming it's the former and not the latter. Okay. Last but not least, on battle story stuff, I want to fill in some assorted information that we pick up from different sources, mangas, manuals, catalogs throughout the way, just to answer some last questions. Okay, here we go. In ZAC 1955 years before King Hellick unites the two populations, the first humans arrived on Z from Earth, finding a native race commonly referred to as the Zoidians. Now, those Zoidians look exactly like humans in every way, but they have a partial psychic ability that allowed them to talk with the native animals that live on Z. Those native animals are Zoids, a race of mechanical beings that resembled both mammals and dinosaurs. Back in 1000 ZAC, this comes from like catalog or some shit, I don't know. Zoids are like animal size, not building size. So this is like, yeah, you've bumped into a mechanical tiger in the woods. It is a Zoid, and Zoidians can mind meld with it.
It's an organotron.
No, not at that.
Organoid.
Not yet. That's just a Zoid. It's not an organoid. That's different. That's different. It doesn't matter. It's just different. Okay.
Not a Zoidian, but a Zoid.
Yes. So they're the humans come to planet Z. They meet the Zoidians. There are Zoids there. Earthlings were refugees on Z, fleeing the declining environmental health of their planet. They traveled in massive colony ships, globalies 1 through 10. Globally 1, globally 2, globally 3, so on and so forth. These 10 ships left Earth one day apart, but they arrived to planet Z between 200 and 500 years apart.
Whoa.
There's not really an explanation as to why, just is how it happens, traveling across the Milky Way.
Needed it.
Now, globally 5, globally 8, and globally 9 never make it to Z. Nobody knows what happens to them. It is assumed that they are lost in space.
They ended up in the realm between light and dark.
5, 8, 9.
5 did eat 9.
Kyle.
It's the plot of the Cloverfield paradox.
Oh, Kyle.
As noted earlier, only globally 3 is really important to the plot. That's the one that crash lands and the Earth technology makes Zoids better. Now, those original 2 groups that King Hellick brought together to form the Republic, well, those 2 groups were the humans and the Zoidians. And the 2 races started to interbreed, and the Zoidian government got really concerned that the humans were itching for war, and so they hid their ancient technology with something called Zoid Eve in a tomb below the Valley of Rare Hurts. And that will be important later.
Noun soup.
We need more words here, guys. Come on.
I know Valley of Rare Hurts is like lifting Hertz as a electronics term and just but I'm envisioning the valley of like of hard to find rental cars.
That's where you go when you have Hertz Gold.
God, incredible. Okay, so that's what I have for you from the battle story. We're going to take a quick break, come back and talk about the anime. But before I go to break, do you guys have any questions or anything that you would like clarified about the battle story?
I don't have any questions that are going to be clarified with an answer.
I don't have any questions.
That's it. 100% that. Yep.
Yeah, same. Okay, well, we will be right back, and we're going to talk about the part of Zoids I remember right after this. All right, welcome back to this Zoids flavor text. We have broken down the story, that being the original battle story and the new battle story of the Zoids toy line. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the anime, which is what I remember and how I got into Zoids, because I was not a plastic model kit kid, as I am not a plastic model kit adult right now. And I'm not good at putting small things together. I can't be. My hands are so shaky, and I'm so impatient. I can never be. That's
not your type of collector thing.
No, it is a hobby built in a lab to make things that aren't for me.
It's for me. I will note too that Todd's number got called, and he's now boarding the Globally 11. So congrats,
cool.
Todd.
Yeah. We'll see him on Planet Z. We'll catch up with him.
Planet Z in 400 years.
Before or after one of their many apocalypses, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly. Hopefully we'll land there during the decades of peace, you know?
the decades of Z's.
the Zekades of peace.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay. The year is 1999. What a wild year. Tomy.
Wild year.
Relaunched their Zoids brand in Japan. Toys had been made by multiple different companies from 90 to 99, but this was the first time it was officially back with Tomy. In 1999, toy companies had discovered that nothing sells toys to kids quite like an animated TV show, and thus, Zoids Chaotic Century was born.
God, the naming conventions with this stuff.
What's funny is that it took them until 1999, because it's not like right. I know Pokemon is the impetus for this, but it's not like Transformers and G.I. Joe and He-Man Masters of the Universe like didn't exist in the intervening years. Yeah. But sure, Pokemon.
Yeah.
One thing that I think I always felt about Zoids, and doing this flavor text, I've kind of realized about Zoids, is that the whole thing feels like it's 10 years after when it should have happened.
It so is. I was actually just thinking that same thing. And to Kyle's point, like I'm wondering, in my headcanon is like maybe they were just waiting for Beast Wars to be over.
The thesis I'm working on that I was gonna like put at the end of this episode is like, this Zoids beginning to now in 1980 whatever and in 1999 and now is slop. As we know, like both as we know slop today, but also this is significantly better than any slop we are getting today as well. Like we made slop different in the 80s. That does not change the fact that someone is like, Transformers is doing well. Make me a line of toys that are animals and robots. And I don't and details you solve, but I want my own Transformers to make me $1 billion.
This is just Digimon.
It's pretty similar. It's got
Yeah.
the same vibe, right?
Yeah.
And like, remember, in '99, Bandai Namco had already made dinosaur robots called Zoids. So,
Right.
I mean, come on, it's not that hard. I'm pretty sure that the first time I watched Zoids, I thought it was a Power Ranger show.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Chaotic Century was the first Zoids anime, but it was the second to be dubbed and released in the West after Zoids New Century, which we'll talk about later.
Okay.
Great.
Chaotic Century is loosely adapted from an official Zoids manga series called, I'm going to butcher this, Kaiju Shinseiki Zoido. That seemed close. And the original battle story from the toys. The story picks up a few years after the most recent war between the Gylos Empire and the Helic Republic. Not super specific as to when this is, but that war ended in a ceasefire. And
Okay.
if you're a freak and you really want to put it on the timeline, it is currently the Gylos Empire, which means this is after the Xenobus Empire was absorbed by Kylos's Dark Army.
It's after the Dark Continent. But this is before the Comet? I thought the Comet was what broke the war.
So
Or
remember
did
that,
get
like,
retconned?
this is a different story. Loose adaptation, but like not meant to be
Okay.
same canon. So, picks up a few years after the most recent war between the Empire and the Republic. Our series protagonist, and this will be in the Imgur again, but Google it. Our series protagonist is a squirrely teen named Van Flyheight.
Come on.
Yeah, dude. He has a different name in Japanese, but it's also rad. Van Flyheight, who we meet as he's being chased through the desert by bandits on his sweet futuristic hoverboard.
Sure. He looks like Zero from Mega Man X. I don't know how, but he
does. He looks a lot like Zero from Mega Man X. He is also my like red string theory is that Van Flyheight is heavily influenced by Marty McFly from Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah, and I see that.
That name certainly is. He also looks like he's like the Japanese version of the main character in Treasure Planet. Down to the sick
good.
hoverboard.
And the midriff.
And the midriff and the undercut, the buzzed sides, long on top hair. Like it's all there. The pattern is there.
Yeah.
Because I know that you guys are on Google Images and not the Imgur, the version of Van that we're talking about right now is this younger version where he has like the green shoulder pads as opposed to the red shoulder pads.
Oh,
so
okay.
We are talking about abless Van Flyheight. He will get the ab window around episode 34. Okay. So Van Flyheight, who we meet as he's being chased in the desert by bandits on a hoverboard. He is being chased by those bandits who are in Zoids. They are in Guysack Zoids. If you guys want to look for that, Guysack, Guysack.
SAC Guysack.
Yeah, Guysack. They are in Guysack Zoids.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. Van goes into a cave as he is running away from the Zoids, and he finds a mysterious Zoid in a water tank in that cave.
Sure.
That Zoid is smaller than all the other Zoids we've seen in the 3 minutes that we've been watching this show.
But
and
it
we
does
later discover
something no other Zoid can
It's got
do.
special girl powers.
that's because it's an organoid, you guys.
Yeah.
It's an organoid. Now, I'm pretty sure, and I couldn't like hard confirm this, but I'm pretty sure from all the research I did that organoid is a term that
Is a slur?
came from no, it's not a slur.
It's their
Is a
word, not our word.
a term that came from like the 1999 anime era. So earlier, Kyle, when you were like, the organoids are the Zoids born naturally on planet Z, I think that's what they were going for. Do they ever spell that out? Absolutely not.
Sure. It's organoid is just special boy Zoids.
Oh, no, you know what they are? What is that other race that was introduced in Transformers that everybody fucking hated? The little ones.
Oh, man.
That's what that is. That's what this is.
Yes.
You guys don't, you know what I'm talking about. The
I
mini
do,
cons
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, look at it. I don't remember what those are called.
And
but I know
everybody
exactly what
fucking
you mean.
hated them.
Yeah. Those were the ones that transformed into people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the mini? It's just the mini bots or something?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're mini bots.
Okay. Anyway, Van goes into a cave, finds Zoid in a water tank, breaks Zoid out of water tank.
In case of emergency, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, this came out in 99, but it is very Mewtwo in Pokemon the movie.
We loved breaking things out of water tanks in our animes in 1999.
God, didn't we? Van names this Zoid Zeke after his father's old Zoid. This is like the only time we really talk that much about Van's dad. Apparently he died. He was a great Zoid pilot. His Zoid's name was Zeke. Not relevant. Okay. Those bandits, they come down on Van and Zeke and pin him into this cave. But big old jet thrusters pop out of Zeke's back, and you should probably Google Zeke the organoid. What's up, Andrew?
Go bots.
Go bots! That's it. Yeah, you're so right.
Okay, I'm back.
Anyway, Google Zeke the organoid. You will see that he's a little like raptor friend. And the bandits have him pinned down. Zeke sprouts big old jet thrusters out of his back.
He is very friend-shaped.
Yep. And puts Van on his back. And then they like zoom off in a streak of light. And then they go into the field, the wasteland field, and they find this ancient stone destroyed Zoid. And Zeke puts Van in the cockpit of these Zoid ruins. And Zeke's like, is this a shield liger? But this shield liger's been destroyed. There's no way I can outrun the bandits in this shield liger. And then they play the special Zoid song, and Zeke does his special roar, and he zooms up into the sky and turns into a ball of light and sucks into the shield liger and revives the shield liger. And then Van, who's never piloted a Zoid before, pilots a shield liger, the most complex Zoid to ever pilot, and blows up the guy's axe and goes home.
Cool.
Episode 1. Okay. So
That's the plot of the James Cameron Avatar movie.
yeah. Look up Van's shield liger. This is the Zoid.
This is the Pikachu.
Yep, this is the Pikachu. There is another one called the Blade Liger, which we'll talk about a little later. Shield Liger is the important one right now. Okay. Van, in episode 2, returns back to that cave, and he finds a mysterious girl in another water tank.
Cool.
Now, her name is Fiona, and she has no memories.
Matt, we need a couple air horns here, man. You've hit so many. You're not even calling out all of the cliches.
Yeah,
Dude, it's out of control.
We got special boy powers. We got mysterious girl. We got amnesia in 45 minutes? That's impressive.
Remember when I said slop a minute ago? This is what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like we got our tropes checklist, and it's like, all right, we're falling behind. Let's cram a few in here.
Yeah, Sword Art Online at least waited like 7 episodes.
Nah, man. Episode 2, and we're doing like proper noun soup. It's great. Okay. So Fiona, she has no memories, and she says she's looking for Zoid Eve.
Nope.
We do not know what that means.
Nope, I reject that.
Okay, so those three, those three, Fiona, Van Flyheight, and our new dinosaur robot friend Zeke depart.
Does Zeke have a silly voice?
No, he just sounds like like he just sounds like a guy
he doesn't
sounding
speak
like a
English?
dinosaur. No, he just yells. He's a dinosaur.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I thought Zeke
Only-
was gonna have,
Okay.
have a mascot voice.
Not to push up my glasses, but remember that only natural-born Zoidians have the special power to talk to Zoids, which is why it's maybe a little weird that Zeke and Van are able to communicate so easily.
Okay.
Oh wait, one of them isn't natural born Zoidian.
Well, they don't even know that there were there's no difference between Zoidians and humans anymore. That was thousands of years ago. We know that because we read the battle story like freaks.
I'm so confused. Please keep going.
Okay. Zeke does not have a voice. Zeke yells like a dinosaur.
Great.
And Van understands him like Ash and Pikachu. There we go. Okay. They leave Van's hometown to basically figure out what the fuck is going on. And Van's sister is like, no, don't leave. And he's like, but I have to. And
Yeah.
they do. Okay. On the way, I'm glossing through a lot because there are 67 episodes in the first season. I'm not going to go through all of them. They leave Van's hometown, and on the way, they meet a guy named Irvine and a girl named Moonbay. And Irvine and Moonbay fill out our protagonist party. That's our core 5 for Chaotic Century. Van, Fiona, Zeke, the Organoid, Irvine, and Moonbay. Irvine is your typical rival turned friend. He's got a cool mechanical eye patch, and he mostly pilots a Zoid called a Command Wolf. I would do a Google for Irvine and his Command Wolf.
Great. And then I'm guessing Moonbay fits the role of girl.
Well, she fits
Not magical girl, just
Not
girl.
magical girl, just she's your Nami, your like spunky girl.
Yes. Yep, exactly. She's your firecracker.
Misty.
Moonbay is a transporter. You guys remember that song I made you watch? That's boy, do you hear that a lot, and every time it hurts. But she is a transporter and a smuggler, and her and Irvine have some sort of history, but it's never explicitly spelled out. And she's cool and sings the world's most annoying song, and she mostly pilots a Zoid called a Gustav. Not a Gustav, a Gustav. Great. Go ahead and Google Moonbay and Gustav for me.
I did like Command Wolf. That kind of, it's really elegant naming convention and kind of tells you everything you need to know about what it is.
Yeah,
which I
just
do
like Shield Liger.
So
just like Shield Liger.
Oh,
yeah.
Gustav is this pill bug looking thing.
Sure is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a flatbed.
her-
She's a truck driver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Irvine is our Joey Wheeler character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
And I would say there's like maybe 8 or so episodes of Irvine is kind of a soft antagonist. And then eventually he and Van realize they are fighting the same fight. And then Irvine begrudgingly joins the team.
Okay, so he's a little bit more like of like a Sasuke.
Yeah, that's better.
We got to do
better.
we got to do our third of a season enemies to friends arc.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our core group spends most of the series adventuring and thwarting the Empire's attempted takeovers of the Republic. The Empire pretty much billed as the aggressive bad guys in this series. The Republic pretty much billed as largely peaceful, but also maybe a little imperialistic. And we also meet like a handful of cities and cultures and groups of people who aren't associated with the Empire or the Republic and are constantly losing people, losing land, losing materials to this ongoing war as these two imperialistic forces clash in the middle. So it's not long before we meet Raven, Van's true rival. Raven also has an organoid. His is black and it has wings and it's named Shadow.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Raven mostly pilots a saber tiger and then eventually pilots a Genosaurer. I would do a Google for Raven and Shadow.
Shadow is just a different palette swap of Rex. Wait, what is
Zeke.
the other? Zeke. Yep, you got it. You knew what I meant.
Yeah, he is, but he's black and he has wings, and Zeke doesn't have wings. He is a red eyes black dragon. Zeke is a blue eyes white dragon.
It's like Mega Man and Proto Man. It's
Ash and Red.
Ravens are Kaiba character.
Yes.
Yeah,
1,000%.
I think you meant Ash and Gary, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay. Raven often does the dirty work of the Empire, but also states that he's like not on anyone's side because he's a rogue.
Yeah,
and
sure.
He's edgy and kind of into killing people in a way that does not fit with the rest of the series.
Fun.
So, like I said, there's a lot of guns and death in this series. Like, it's not uncommon for somebody to just like shoot somebody else with a 9mm pistol, which feels weird for 2000s kid TV.
Intense, yeah.
And the localization, like I grew up with the dub. I have been rewatching the dub. I think the dub is pretty good. I think Raven's dub suffers the most from localization. And I would have to imagine a lot of it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where notoriously the Japanese shows were not geared towards as young of an audience. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that Raven plays a lot differently.
The bad guy is probably edgier in the original text.
Yeah, but there's a lot of like people will be like, Raven, stop, you'll kill them. And he'll go, don't you know I don't care about life? And shit like that.
Cool, man.
You get it. All right. Van and Raven and the Empire and the Republic face off a few times. Like every 3 episodes, there's a fight. It's either Van and Raven or it's the Republic forces versus the Empire forces. And that is going on until the Republic debuts the Gojulus, which we looked at earlier. It's a big old skyscraper-sized Zoid. Feel free to look at it again. The Republic debuts the Gojulus, and Raven blows up his own Zoid trying to break through the Shield Liger's shield. And it's this really intense mid-season finale moment because Raven, this whole time, has been very dismissive of other Zoid pilots. Like, you don't even know how to pilot a Zoid. You don't understand Zoids. You don't feel Zoids the way that I do. And he's got this relationship with his black dragon friend Shadow, and his black dragon friend Shadow is inside of his Zoid the same way our robot friend Zeke is inside of Van's Shield Liger. And they're fighting, and Van puts the Shield Liger shield up, which is the most powerful shield to ever be put on a Zoid.
Sure.
And Raven like slams his Zoid into the shield and is trying to like rip through this energy shield. And while it's happening, parts of his Zoid are like decaying and being blown off. And there's this moment of like, Raven, don't you know you're going to kill your Zoid by doing this? And Raven's like, I don't care. It's worth it to defeat you. And then his Zoid explodes, and at the last minute, he and Shadow hit the escape button, and they eject, and they're fine, but the Blade Tiger is dead. or the saber tiger is dead. Okay. Climactic face-off between the Empire and the Republic. It ends when the king of the Empire passes away. Very similar to how he did in the battle story. He passes away because he's old as shit and his natural causes.
That's Gygas or Gyarados or
Yep, Gyarados. Yep, you got
Gyarados,
it.
yeah.
Guileless. Yeah.
Guileless.
Gary Oak. Yeah.
Yeah.
They never, just like the battle story, they never actually say the name of the emperor. Probably because it doesn't matter. Also, probably as like a gulp shitto for the freaks who read the.
Yeah.
So, King of the Empire dies. His grandson, Prince Rudolph, becomes the leader of the Empire, and he calls for an immediate ceasefire. And this happens while the Empire forces are bearing down on the capital of the Republic. General Prozin, who we met in the battle story and is also in this anime, has had a call with the president of the Republic, basically saying, you have two options: unconditional surrender and give up your civil rights to us, the Empire, or we will murder you all and burn your village to the ground. And
Yeah.
the Republic is like, well, we're going to die with our chests up. And then Prince Rudolph is like, that's enough. No more. It's all done. And everybody's like, great. That's awesome. Love that for us. Except for, of course, General Prozin, pretty upset about this whole thing because he's been leading an army. He's been leading the Empire's army. He's been being just like an anime villain this whole time. And so he orders the assassination of Prince Rudolph.
Oh. Okay.
Who is, again, he's like a 10-year-old kid. Throughout this, some shenanigans ensue. Rudolph is kidnapped from the Empire capital, and after changing hands a few times, he ends up with our protagonist party. But back in the Empire, General Prozin announces that Rudolph is dead, and he seizes control of the Empire.
Okay. So that's how the show tells the story of like, well, Prozin's in charge now.
Exactly. Yeah. After Prozin takes control, he learns of the legend of an apocalyptically powerful Zoid called the Death Saurer. It's another one that's worth Googling. So he is like, well, I'm going to clone the Death Saurer. And he tries to clone it, and in the process, he creates the Genosaurer, which he then gives to Raven to pilot and be a little anime villain.
Okay, so we got, which one comes first? Is it the Death Saurer?
The Death Saurer
is like a...
is the mythical one of prophecy, and the Genosaurer is the fake, the fake Death Saurer.
The DNA spliced one. It's Mewtwo.
Death Saurer is Mew. The Genosaurer is Mewtwo. So exactly. Okay. So Raven uses the Genosaurer to fucking murder the bandits from episode 1. And the bandits have been like side characters every 5 episodes or so. And the show does a weirdly good job of like really humanizing them and making it out that like, well, they're not bad people. They're bandits because they don't agree with imperialism. And they're not trying to fight either side. They're just trying to fight war and keep peace and steal things for money. And at one point, those bandits like save Prince Rudolph. We meet one of the bandits' sisters in a secluded village, so on and so forth. We're like, oh, the bandits are good people. And then Raven blows them up. And everybody's like, no, we liked them. He also uses the Genosaurer to destroy Van's shield liger by destroying its Zoid core. What's a Zoid core?
It got to its Zor?
Yeah, it's a Zor subject, I tell you what. We haven't really heard the phrase Zoid core before.
Is that its heart?
It's the heart. It's also, we find out when an organoid fuses into a real Zoid, occupies its Zoid core.
Occupy Zoid core. something occupy Zoid core.
Excuse me. So, hey, you guys remember how there was like a native people on this planet called Zoidians from like 1,000 years ago? Well, it turns out Fiona is one of those.
Okay, and Fiona was our mystical girl, right?
Our magical girl. Yep.
Magical girl.
Yep. And she's displayed some like minor magical girl powers. Like at one point, she's like, there's water here. I can smell it. And everybody's like, we're in the desert. And she's like, under the desert, there's water. I smell it. And some other magical girl things. Not important. So Zeke, our organoid robot friend, and Fiona, the magical girl, fuse together in a giant beam of light. And then they jump into the destroyed shield Liger. And it's surrounded by like a cyclone of pink energy. And Fiona has this like idyllic flashback to her origin. And we don't really know what's going on with Zeke. And nobody can get into this pink cyclone of energy. And then they both reappear. And the destroyed shield Liger has been fixed and reborn as a blade Liger.
What? So wait, okay. Hold up.
Yeah, man. What you got?
So through the power of God and anime,
exactly.
Dead Shield Liger is reborn as Blade Liger, which was like the rival version that Raven used to pilot that also died. So now Van has a Blade Liger that's a better version of the Shield Liger to take on Genosaur.
The last part of that was right. Something that I'm going to tell you that's going to make you mad.
I'm already mad, but
you
go
deserve
ahead.
to be mad. Van now has a Blade Liger. Raven did not have a Blade Liger. He had a Saber Tiger.
Nope.
Which is different.
Nope. I'm done. I'm getting off this call now. Bye.
All I am hearing is that Pokemon Sword and Shield was an extended Zoids reference.
Yeah,
down
spiritual
to the
successor.
Down to the box legendaries.
Yeah.
Oof.
And even the use of Z, Zamazenta, and
Oh,
Zacian.
yeah. Yep.
So
they actually may be an Easter egg reference. We might have uncovered this.
We might have uncovered the Zoids reference in Pokemon.
Yeah.
So the Shield Liger, its big thing were like, it's got like whisker looking robot parts, and those would like come forward and make a big energy shield so that it could dash into things like a battering ram.
But now it makes a blade.
Now, instead of it coming out of its face, it like comes out of its side, and it's this like 40-yard sword that comes out of the side of the Zoid, and it sprints really fast past other things and cuts them with its side sword. It's awesome. Big fan of the Blade Liger. I like it a lot. Fiona and Zeke use magical Zoidian powers, turn it into a Blade Liger. You get it. Okay. So the party returns Prince Rudolph to the Empire, and they try to dethrone Prozin. But Prozin is like, that's an imposter, Rudolph. And there's a big fight. And Van uses his Blade Liger to defeat Raven's Genosaur.
Okay.
And it looks like Raven's gonna die. And at the last minute, Raven's organoid friend Shadow shows up and saves Raven, and they are off on a cliff with hoods over their heads because they're rogues. And Raven has this brief moment of empathy where he's like, maybe Zoids do feel, and that's the end of the episode.
So he's our Prince Zuko is really where we're at.
He doesn't get redeemed quite as hard as Prince Zuko does.
Sure, but now he's like outside both factions. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, bad news, everyone.
Oh no.
In the ensuing chaos, Prozin releases his cloned Death Soarer.
The Genosaurer.
No, the Death Soarer. Genosaurer was Ravens. It was an attempt at cloning the Death Soarer.
Oh, so he successfully cloned the Death Soarer.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Got it.
So he releases his successfully cloned Death Soarer.
The Indominus Rex. Got it.
The Indominus Rex. And it destroys like the entire capital of the Empire.
Sure.
And Van is able to defeat the Death Soarer by using things he learned in fighting Raven's Genosaurer.
Of course.
And he appears to kill Prozin in the process. Rudolph is crowned emperor. Peace returns to the nations. And Van and Fiona head out into the sunset to search for Zoid Eve.
Which we still have no connection to at all.
Yep. We went to like a drowned temple where Zoid Eve was supposed to be, and we got there and somebody beat us there and it had all been cleaned out. And Fiona touches like a rune on a broken rock. She has a weird flashback and doesn't talk for an episode.
Is there a Zoid Adam?
I was just gonna say, if Zeke is our Zoid Adam, I'm gonna throw my computer and this podcast into the sun.
Yeah.
First off, it's Zadam. No, I don't think there's a Zoid Adam, actually. Okay. That's the end of season 1 or part 1 of Zoid's Chaotic Century. In Japan, it was differentiated. The next 30 episodes is Zoid's Guardian Force, but has since been combined and is just known as Zoid's Chaotic Century. So Chaotic Century, it's like 67 episodes. The first 33 are original Chaotic Century. The second 34 are Guardian Force. Okay. We pick up episode 34 or episode 1, however. We pick up 2 years after.
We got a time skip.
Hit the nail on the head there. We got another time skip. We pick up 2 years later. Now, Van has joined the Helic Army. That would be the army of the Republic. And Fiona is like a military researcher. And not a lot given there.
Cool.
Van and Fiona are both recruited to join the Guardian Force, a joint army created by the Empire and the Republic as a peacekeeping force to stop wars from happening.
So we have our dinosaurs and our mammals fighting on the same team.
You got it.
Nice.
They face a bunch of antagonists. We do sort of like a Monster of the Week thing for a couple of episodes. 2 of those antagonists are people named Reese and Hiltz. They're 2 mysterious individuals. We don't get a lot of background on them to start. And they both also have organoids. Also, Raven and Shadow show back up. There it is. They're back.
Of course.
Cool.
Okay. It's revealed.
But like we're all buds now?
No, he's still kind of doing the angsty rogue thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's revealed that Reese and Hiltz are actually trying to awaken a mysterious Zoid that we already talked about back in the battle story called the Death Stinger. That's like
the big scorpion one.
It's the big scorpion one. Yep. So Hiltz is able to get the Death Stinger up and running, and he uses it to like vaporize the capital city of the Republic.
Ooh.
After this defeat, the Guardian Force revive their ancient Zoid of legend, the Ultrasaurus, and they put a gravity cannon on it. What does
that mean?
This is your next thing to Google. Google Zoid's Ultrasaurus gravity cannon. It's awesome.
That's nothing. That means nothing.
So the gravity cannon is basically the size of the Ultrasaurus. It's huge. It's so big and dumb.
Yeah, it's bigger. It's like the barrel of the cannon is longer and thicker than the neck and head of the Ultrasaurus.
The Ultrasaurus is the big dumb brontosaurus with scaffolding. Oh, the scaffolding is the gravity cannon. Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, you got it. What is this one called? I can't remember.
I hate this.
Oh my god. Okay, so now that you guys have seen the Ultrasaurus, if you guys could, this is a poll, but look at the Power Rangers Carrier Zord. I think that'll get you there.
Titanus, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Titanus.
It's got a
it's-
brontosaurus head and got wheels.
It's the same. It's literally the exact same.
Without
Except
a big stupid gun.
Titanus doesn't have a big stupid gun, which is why Zoids is so cool. Because you know what's cooler than a robot dinosaur? It's a robot dinosaur with a big stupid gun.
Big stupid
It's just
gun.
cooler. It's awesome. Okay, so they revive Ultrasaurus. They put a gravity cannon on it. Hiltz continues to decimate cities with the Death Stinger until Van, Irvine, and the Ultrasaurus catch up to him. They defeat the Death Stinger, but Hiltz's organoid, which we find out is named Ambience, fuses with the Death Stinger.
What?
And
Okay.
it's look, localization is a hell of a drug.
It sure is.
Fuses with the Death Stinger, revives it. Oh no, we've got a meaner Death Stinger. There's a big fight, and then Hiltz, the Death Stinger, and our magical girl Fiona all just dissolve into light. They dissolve into light.
It is Evangelion.
Okay, here's where shit gets weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. I copied and pasted the last two paragraphs of a plot synopsis because every time I tried to write it, it just went back to this. So let me just read it.
You're hoping we can all figure it out together.
Mm-hmm.
Fiona materializes before the Dark Kaiser, revealed to be Prozen, merged with the Death Soarer's Zoid core.
What?
So remember the battle story? How there's a dark continent in Zoids the anime. They don't really talk about the dark continent, but there is this like Dark Kaiser and Dark Army. Nobody knows who he is. Got a mask.
Okay.
We killed the Death Storer with the Blade Liger, and everybody thought Prozen died.
Mhm.
Prozen didn't die. When the Death Soarer exploded, he fused with its Zoid core.
With its Zoid core.
Yeah, and became the Dark Kaiser. Okay.
Oh,
You
he
get
is
it.
the Dark Kaiser.
He is the
from
Dark Kaiser.
Continent.
Yep.
He went to the Dark Continent to heal his wounds, and then he came back as the Dark Kaiser.
Which
The
is
Dark Kaiser.
in
Dark
the battle
Kaiser.
story. That's what Gylos did, and that's how Prozen was betrayed by his uncle. Yada yada yada. Anyway, so Prozen manipulates Fiona to open the doors to the ancient city of Evopolis,
Nope.
where Zoid Eve
Nope.
is located.
Nope. Try again.
Fiona regains her memories.
I
And
have
explains-
to know what Evopolis is like in the original Japanese, because
Yeah.
Evopolis screams no kid a kid catching the tail end of this series is not gonna know
Mhm.
what Eve is. Let's call it Evopolis so we can cram.
Because words mean nothing.
Yeah.
This show is almost enough to get me to learn to be fluent in Japanese so that I can, because I have a hard time believing it was always this stupid.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
I know. It's
Yes.
crazy, man. Okay. Fiona regains her memories and explains that the Zoid Eve is the source of life for all Zoids. Now, Zoids.
What does it mean? What does that mean?
Zoids initially brought great prosperity, but some turned them into tools for war. And the Death Soarer was created to end all wars, but instead began destroying everything.
Sure.
And the Zoidians could not bring themselves to destroy Zoid Eve, which would end the life of all Zoids. So they sealed it away along with the Death Soarer's body. Hiltz and the Death Stinger rematerialize in front of Van, who is heading towards Fiona. Van faces Hiltz, aided by Ambient, Hiltz's organoid, without
Aided
his
by the
own
power of sleep
organoid,
medication.
Zeke. He astounds Hiltz by outfighting the more powerful Zoid. Van and the Death Stinger arrive at Evopolis, and Prozin demands that the Death Stinger merge with him into the Death Soarer. However, the core of the Death Stinger instead absorbs Prozin. Hiltz and the Death Stinger merge with the Death Soarer core, bringing the monster back to life.
Eaten Prozin. Okay.
The awakened Death Soarer is much more powerful than the incomplete clone that was previously defeated. And the combined forces of the military and Van and Raven and Reese, who split off of Hiltz when he got into the big death machine, and a fourth gravity cannon shell, because that was the whole thing. We only had 3 shells for the gravity cannon, and it took all 3 to build the first Death Soarer. I'll wait until Andrew gets back.
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Even
Nope,
better.
I'm done.
He got so angry, his camera could.
He just left. So
Never left.
we only had 3 shells for the gravity cannon. It took all 3 to take down the Death Soarer. Luckily, we find a 4th shell. And Van, Raven, Reese, and another gravity cannon shell don't even harm the Death Soarer. So the Death Soarer and Hiltz are finally stopped by firing the Blade Liger out of the gravity cannon.
What?
All right, I have a new theory. It's not just localization that is making this gobbledygook. There's like they must have mashed like 2 different seasons of a show into one different English season, and they
This
were
is
like,
nothing.
We
This
gotta
is nothing.
we gotta wrap this up. Let's have all these things merge, a fake out merge, and screw it.
Yeah.
A cannonball special in there for no good reason.
They got 30 episodes that got broken, that were corrupted on the drive over.
Yeah.
And they just had to make it up.
So we shoot the Blade Liger out of the gravity cannon like a bullet. It pierces the Death Soarer's core, critically damaging it and killing Hiltz once and for all. And after the destruction of the Death Soarer, Planet Z lives in peace. And
I have a question. I have a very logistical question.
Hit me.
Aren't the Blade Liger's blades on the side? So
Sure
does
are.
Blade Liger can Blade Liger assume like a diver position and just kind of point those bad boys forward? Or
Nope.
did they shoot Blade Liger sideways?
they shot Blade Liger like 3 inches to the right of the Zoid core.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a
Just
front
so it
facing kind of thing.
so it could just slice one side of it. Okay.
All right. That's Chaotic Century. Now,
It's pretty chaotic.
it was pretty chaotic. Friendly reminder, like that's Chaotic Century and Guardian Force. And
So it's in the name. It makes sense.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
It all is well.
That was the 2nd season to air in the States. The first season that aired in the States was Zoid's New Century. as far as I know, it's just because they finished the localization of that one first because it's shorter. It aired first. It's the one that I remember originally, and then watching, like I watched Chaotic Century when it came out, but my first experience with Zoids was with New Century. So at this point, there are 4 other animes. New Century, which I'm going to talk about a little bit, and then 3 other ones, which I'm just going to breeze through. There is way less here. I'm way less familiar with them, and it's not the like main stuff, right? Like most people who remember Zoids, especially if you saw it in the States, what you remember is probably Chaotic Century because it's what got replayed the most and it had the most episodes. New Century was fine. It had some popularity. It wasn't as good. It was really enough to just get Chaotic Century locked in Toonami. So, New Century. It takes place some amount of time before Guardian Force, but it doesn't have any direct ties. Or I said before, excuse me. Some amount of time after Guardian Force. But it does not have any direct ties besides like background cameos. New Century is kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legends of Korra, because Zoid battles have become tournament based. And that's the like driving part of the economy now is organized Zoid battles. The main character is a guy named BitCloud. BitCloud.
Okay.
He's a junk dealer. He joins a Zoid fighting team called the Blitz Team. And he gets to pilot their Liger Zero.
Fuck
and
you.
there's another one. Google Liger Zero. It's cool. This is like...
I'm surprised it's not Liger X.
Yeah, I know. Well, X doesn't start with a Z, Andrew.
Not with that mentality.
Man, what a salient thought.
Liger Zero is like what I remember when I think of Zoids. It's fucking cool as shit, man. And honestly, New Century and Chaotic Century, I think both look
this looks
really good for the era of show that they are. They do the 3D overlaid on 2D in a significantly more reserved and tasteful way than a lot of the other shows that were doing it at the time. Like there are full moments of the Zoids and full Zoids that are only ever in 2D, and the 3D meshes better than in like Reboot.
Sure.
Yeah, I buy that. This was a little bit later too. I mean, this was weird straight up 2000. So that definitely tracks. So, I just say I don't love the illustration style. It like for being an anime that was made in 1999, it feels very like the actual like illustration style is very like 80s.
Yes.
Again, it goes back to like this show came out 10 years after it should.
Yeah.
It feels
in
like
a lot of ways.
It feels like Zoids would have been massive if it came out in 89 instead of 99, you know? Like
it just didn't beat Gundam Wing or Transformers.
Yeah. So, to finish out New Century, we got our main guy, BitCloud. He joins up, he gets to pilot Liger Zero, and BitCloud and Liger Zero have this like he's temperamental, but he's a good horse kind of relationship. It's
great.
Honestly, New Century is a horse girl movie. Just straight up, it is.
Yeah. When do they fight Bet Sephiroth?
Good.
Thank you.
There's an underground fighting ring that starts up. The bad guys try to steal the Liger Zero. Yada, yada, yada. Who cares? BitCloud wins. The Liger Zero is the best Zoid ever. End. That takes us to 2003's Zoid Fusers. Fusers spelled with a Z.
This one feels obvious. Of course. Of course they have to do this.
Yeah. It's about Zoids combining to make bigger, better Zoids.
Yeah.
Sure.
This
Megazoids, if you will.
Yeah. This corresponded with new technology and toys and was also basically just a way for Tomy to sell kit bashing to people.
Yeah.
The heavy lifting new technology in capital T toys is doing here is
It's really funny.
immaculate.
There's a point at which in most flavor texts when you can tell when the host lost their mind, and it was when Matt wrote new technology and toys.
Yeah, you got it, man. Fusers, it's a Zoid show. Its full season was cut off in the States. It only ran for I think 18 of the 30 or so episodes. They never aired in the States, probably because of failing ratings and toy sales.
I'll tell you exactly why. Cowboy Bebop came out 2 years before this. Like this show, that's why I think that's why this is driving me crazy, because this show has no business being this in 2001.
I know, man. I know.
How dare you? You have Evangelion, sir. Like Evangelion came out 4 years before this. Anyway.
Fusers aired the rest of its season in Japan, and then I think Australia ran all of Fusers. It had a DVD release.
Australia really needed some content shipped over.
Yeah. It happened. Okay. 2005, there's an anime called Genesis, Zoids: Genesis. I have seen none of it. What I read, it picks up like 1,000-ish years after an event called God's Fury. God's Fury was a massive earthquake that destroyed most of the civilizations on Z, and most of Genesis is the survivors of God's Fury trying to unearth Zoids that fell in the big crater caused by God's Fury.
God's Fury.
It does introduce Biozoids. Worth looking that up. What are Biozoids? Not organoids, not regular Zoids, but bionic.
They're Zoids with fleshy parts, I'm sure. And that's driving me insane because Zoids were already biological. We established this an hour and a half ago when we started recording this.
There's a bio liger that actually looks pretty.
Yeah,
now that
pretty
looks like a Final Fantasy boss. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the bio liger a lot. Again, I haven't seen any of Genesis. And then in 2018, they did a new anime. It's called Zoids Wild. I know nothing about it, but I did learn that instead of getting in the Zoids, now they ride on top of them. I don't think that's better. It's just different.
It's woke Zoids. It's woke Zoids.
Good Lord. Okay. That's all the anime. Quick bullet points on some things I didn't cover. There are a bunch of books, like a bunch. And like I said, they're not particularly centralized. There are manga series that intertwine with the battle story. There are manga series that don't. They're full novelizations. Like, there's a lot of stuff. It's out there. They did some movies. They were made for TV movies. They were never like Pokemon level theatrical releases.
Like OVAs.
Yes, exactly. I found this, I'm going to put the word cool in parentheses, this cool battle story timeline that gives you the happenings of all the things in Zoid years. If you want that, it'll be in the show notes.
Zoid's years.
And then last but not least, I need you guys to see this website. I found this website when I was researching this that is a relic of the old internet that is still updated daily, and I am obsessed with it. So it's called the Iron Bible, and it is a Zoids fan site. And it is the most recent update was on January 14th of this year. It's like regularly
2025
updated.
for anyone listening to this, not as it releases. Yeah.
There are links for Zoid trading. They have encyclopedias and nameless. Like, this is incredible. And it was like Wikipedia, the Zoids Wikia, and then Iron Bible gave me so much for this flavor text. It's all based on this promotional DVD released by Tomy in 99 called the Iron Bible, which showed off the Zoids toys. It's really cool. And I just really love that this exists and somebody cares so much about it that it is updated and cared for. And like,
wow.
I just think it's awesome. You know, there are plenty of things from 1999 that had a huge impact on people's lives that have been lost to time. And because of the people at the Iron Bible, I don't think Zoids will be one of them. And I think that's really cool.
And listeners, I'm generally against gatekeeping, but if this goes big and gets like modernized because we talked about it here on this podcast, we're coming for you. This isn't our fault, it's your fault. Keep this safe. This is precious internet history, and we'll all be worse off when it eventually goes away.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
This website has relitigated this entire flavor text.
So that is all I have about Zoids. I would love to hear your final thoughts. What do you think? You gonna watch it?
No, I don't like this, but here's what I like. I like that it's really stupid. It is really stupid, but I like that it's really stupid. I really don't like the 4 gravity cannon climactic ending of season 2. That is enough to make me never want to watch this ever. But I like that this exists, and I like that it's really fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'll echo what I said earlier. This is slop, but slop in a way we don't see anymore, and like unapologetic slop. It's this is not like we gotta make our slop pass the snob test. This is we gotta sell these stupid dinosaur robot toys, and we managed to get Toonami to play a half-hour commercial for us.
Yeah,
once a week to do that.
I think you nailed it. This whole show has the same energy of, frankly, of the Iron Bible, which is like, this is one person's passion project.
Yeah. Yes. And I, slop is a derogatory term, but like I put this up with G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe. Those were glorified half-hour toy commercials too. Those were just as messy and incoherent and yada yada over their own lore four or five different times.
They just had more. I mean, the difference is they had more money behind them.
They had more money behind, and we cared less about those things than we did in 1999. And I know, again, this happened before that, but like, it's the same genre we had of those things that we hold dear to us. It just happened to millennials who care about that stuff as opposed to Gen Z who cared less.
Yeah, I think those are great ways to sum it up. And watching this back, had a lot of moments of I see why I really liked this, and B, I see why Zoids didn't turn me away the way a lot of other animes did, because with all of its yada yadaing, it also was pretty clear that like, no, you don't need to give a shit about this story. It doesn't matter. In the middle 40 or so episodes of the 60, after the first theme intro, there is another 60-second canned recording where it's like, across the Milky Way on the planet Z, a race of people called Zoidians pilot biomechanical machines called Zoids. The Empire and the Republic have been fighting for years, and we follow our protagonist Van and his friends Fiona, Irvine, and Moonbay and their organoid Zeke to find the Zoid Eve. So it was like we
recorded
kids, sit
this
down.
We recorded this after Toonami picked up another 20 episodes, and we know they're gonna run reruns of it now, so we got to get an expo dump in here somewhere for people just joining it on the renewal. Yes.
Yeah. It's straight up. They're just like, sit down, kid. For the next 20 minutes, we're going to fight dinosaur robots. How cool is that? And it was cool. It was cool every time. I've really enjoyed rewatching it. I will probably finish Chaotic Century. If you are interested in watching it and you're listening to this, at least as of time of recording, somebody has taken all 67 episodes of Chaotic Century, upscaled it into HD, and put it all on the Internet Archive because it falls under public domain. It's really cool. I love that things like that exist. Prevents media loss, which is great. So if you're looking to watch this, the best way to do it is on the Internet Archive, completely for free. You can just Google Zoids Chaotic Century streaming. It'll come right up. The last point that I want to make that would probably make somebody really mad at me, but I don't think it's anybody on this call, is I think Zoids has some of the magic that like early Star Trek had, right? Where it is a good story underneath a lot of yada yada layers. And they're very straightforward up front about like, look, if you want to read the boxes and know why the Empire and the Republic are fighting, you can. But if you just want to see Captain Kirk do a space battle, that's cool with us too. And I like that a lot. The characters are fun. The relationships are good. I breezed over a lot of the, intricate shit because I wanted to talk about robot dinosaurs fighting, but it's a fun show and it's schlock, but it's my schlock. And I like it.
It definitely like encapsulates like second monitor.
Yes.
Viewing.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
A good show to watch while you're also playing Pokemon on your
while you're doing something else that is taking half your brain attention.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I want to say thank you for listening to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon at Debate This Cast, or on our website at debatethiscast.com. Hey, you could commission one of these. You could make us talk about whatever you want for like 2 hours or more, or maybe less. Just go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/debatethiscast, and commission a flavor text by joining the Master Debater tier. It is the low price of 3 Overwatch Battle Passes, or 6 Magic the Gathering Arena Battle Passes, or $60 if that's the language you speak in. You could do it. It'd be great. Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, Code Lyoko.
USA Network.
USA Network, Entourage. Could get weird. Could be fun. Get all the details. www.com. Patreon.com/debatethiscast. Until next time, I'm Matt Cole.
And I'm Andrew. The real cause of the war was the inciting incident, aka the bite of Zadie 3.
And I'm Kyle. Can't wait to not watch this Zanime, Harper.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us. And if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.
Yay! Zoids.